So hi everyone, thank you for attending the day 2 of the Global Selling Summit. So can I just get a show of hands who was here yesterday? Oh yeah, okay, that's a lot of you. Okay, so just a little bit of caveat here and there. So the content that I'll be going through today will be quite similar. Some parts will be quite similar to what was shared during the introduction session yesterday. So for the introduction session yesterday, I think we talked a bit more about, e-commerce, what's the difference between cross-border e-commerce as well as traditional business. What are the key considerations that you should have. So today, my key focus is to dive into the 90 days, the perfect jumpstart and launch guide, and to show you how your first 90 days on Amazon.com should look like. So some things to note before we get started. So what we are about to share today is confidential and is proprietary to Amazon. And a brief introduction of myself. My name is Yijie. So what I do is I support Singapore brands to launch in the Amazon US global store. So to help us get this session started, we can start by looking at why Amazon US. I think yesterday we talked a lot about the key considerations. So today let's dive specifically into Amazon.com. Why should we get started? So firstly, the US e-commerce is still experiencing strong growth potential. So revenue in e-commerce in the United States will forecast to continuously increase by an incremental of $490 billion between 2023 to 2027. So not only that, if you look at the graph, you can still see that it will continuously grow even in the next 4 years. And I think a key consideration or rather a key motivating factor behind why sellers want to go cross-border beyond the country that you're currently at is really the scalability of the market. So with Amazon US, I think one thing that we can help to aid in your business is to help to scale your business via Fulfillment by Amazon. So just to keep it short, Fulfillment by Amazon, essentially what we mean is you ship your items in bulk into the US Fulfillment Center, and what we will do is we'll pick, pack, and ship it for you. We will handle all customers' inquiries as well as return refunds requests. So what this can do is, because we have 200 over fulfillment centers all over the US, we can allow you to reach all 50 states in the US all at once. Not only that, because of the amount of fulfillment centers that we have in the US, we also allow you to be able to provide fast deliveries to your end consumers. So with a 2-day free delivery for all Prime members in the contiguous states in the US. Not only that, we also have 1-day free delivery as well as same-day delivery offered for your customers. So with the inventory front, we also have an AI tool, a machine learning tool, where we are able to estimate the demands and the suitability of your inventory and assign you to the different fulfillment centers accordingly. Next. So now that we have taken care of the operation part, another thing that is a topic of concern or is a topic of question for a lot of sellers is how do I then scale my brand, grow my brand in the US, right? So for Amazon, we have this thing called Amazon Brand Registry, where it allows brands to offer brand protection as well as brand marketing tools such as A+ content, brand store, to help you to leave a deeper impression of your brand to the end consumers. Not only that, with Amazon advertising, we also allowed you to be able to allow your product as a new product to be able to be the top of customer search page or in between their product details page, so that it helps you to reach more potential customers. So it shows that Amazon advertising managed to reach 96% of all US adults ages between 25 to 54 shopping on Amazon every single month. Not to mention our key shopping events like the Prime Day, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, which is coming up, are designed to help you to reach more traffic. So this year for Prime Day, Singapore sellers actually experienced 30% growth in their sales, in their Prime Day sales. So besides the logistic infrastructure and the tools that we have available for you to grow your brand, what else do we have? So like what Casey has mentioned, are all the different tools that I mentioned just now, like brand registry, advertising, even things like new seller incentive, which I will elaborate later on, as well as product opportunity tools, which I will briefly talk about later as well. All these are available under the professional selling plan. So the usual price for the professional selling plan is $39.99 USD per month. For a limited time period, we are offering at $1 for 6 months. So that is, the usual price is $240, and now we are offering at $1. So hurry up and get yourself registered. Next, on the new seller incentive that I was talking about, what are the benefits that comes under this bucket? So all these benefits that we have here is really to help new sellers like yourself to ease the cost and risk of selling on Amazon US. So the first bucket of benefit is fulfillment by Amazon. So with NSI, with new seller incentive program, you are allowed free shipping, free storage, liquidation, and return processing for new to FBA ASINs. Not only that, if you are a seller registered under Amazon Brand Registry, you can also get 5% bonus on your first $1 million sale. So that's up to 50,000 bonus in total. And under the brand benefits, you will be able to receive $200 in Vine credits to be able to enroll in this program of what we call the Vine program. So what Vine program does is essentially it helps you to gain reviews from consumers, from buyers, even before you make your first sale. Okay? And lastly, you will also receive $50 in ads credits as well as coupons for you to be able to enroll into these two pillars of or tools to help to grow your business. Yeah. Now that we have covered the benefits, I will want to go into details about how your first 90 days will look like to just help you to visualize what are the steps and what are the important steps that you need to take. So everything that I will be mentioning here is in this QR code that is on the screen, so you can scan it and follow along with me even as I go through the different steps. Alternatively, I think it's also available in your booklet, so you can scan that as well. Okay? So once you go into the Perfect Jumpstart and Launch Guide, the first thing you will see is that it's segmented into two different pillars of journey. Number one is for sellers who already have an existing product, and number two is to address sellers who are still in the process of product selection that you don't know what to sell yet. So for the purpose of discussion today, we will just go into the second pillar where we will talk about, for new sellers without a product yet, what is the journey or how is the journey going to look like for you? So phase number one, let's hop into registration and research. I think before we consider anything about cross-border e-commerce, I think the first key consideration that sellers always ask me is, how much does it cost? And that's a valid consideration, and I believe that should be the first step of your journey to get started with Amazon US. So there are 4 different buckets of cost that you need to take note of which I will elaborate more towards the end of my presentation. But the 4 buckets of cost will be, number 1, the professional selling fees, number 2, the referral fee, number 3, the fulfillment fee, and lastly, all the other fees that is included. Again, I will be elaborating a bit more later on. Next, it's for you to think about what do you want to sell. And I think first step to thinking about and understanding what you want to sell is to understand what you can sell on Amazon US. So the easiest thing to do would be to go on Amazon.com. We do have a wide range of category for you to sell into. So familiarize yourself with what are the categories that is available on Amazon US. And while you are doing your product selection process, you can go ahead and create an Amazon US selling account. And then, while you are in the product selection process, it is also good to think about what is a brand name that you want to print on your product. So, while you are doing that, also think about, what are some of the, now that you have a rough idea of what you want to sell, is this a right product to be bringing into the US? Is this a good product idea? What are some of the data points or tools that you can use to help to validate your idea? The tools that we are available under the professional selling plan would be the Product Opportunity Explorer. So this tool is not only useful for sellers with a product, but it's also useful for sellers without a product. So it provides insights such as what is the top product selling in that category, what is the monthly sales volume, what is the average price. So for sellers without a product, it allows you to be able to maybe tap into some of the under-meet demands that's in the market to be able to fill the market. For sellers with a product, it gives you a rough idea on how you should price your product or what are the volume that you should begin to inbound in the first place. And then next, one encouragement I think from myself is for you to participate in Amazon Global Selling community events as well as social forums. So besides a bigger scale event that we are having now, which is Seller Summit, right? We also have a bi-monthly seller meetup where we gather sellers, experience and new to share learnings. So the seller ambassador that you hear from yesterday and even today, they are occasionally they will attend these meetups as well. So it's a great place for you to learn from one another and to hear from their experience. We also have social forums such as our Facebook community group, at Telegram community group, where occasionally I will scroll through the Telegram group and I do see sellers asking questions, and the more experienced sellers would answer without hesitation, and there will be a discussion going on. So highly encourage you to be in these platforms to be able to learn from one another and experienced sellers on their experiences. Yeah. And then lastly, before you go ahead and print your brand name, so if you come up with a brilliant brand name, right, before you go ahead and print it on your product or to get a trademark, it's good to validate that this brand name is not used yet. Okay, so that's on brand name validation. And then once you are more or less finalized your product selection, you can go ahead and source it. You can go ahead and reach out to suppliers and to test the products that you have in mind. So a few ways that you can reach out to suppliers is through sourcing agents, sourcing service providers, manufacturers, as well as trade fairs. So it is important that once you have reached out to a supplier to actually get them ship the product to you, so that you can feel it, you can test it, and to make sure that the quality is good, to make sure that the sizing is accurate, and to make adjustments along the way in order to ensure that the product is of good quality. Yeah. After that, you can go ahead and file your trademark for protection and enroll in Amazon Brand Registry. So for sellers without a trademark, you can reach out to our IP accelerator, which consists of IP law firms that is able to support you in this process. Next, for sellers that is already with a trademark, you can go ahead and enroll in Amazon Brand Registry. So 2 things to take note for Amazon Brand Registry. Number 1 is your brand name. During the application, your brand name will need to be printed, permanently affixed on your product or the product packaging. Okay? Number 2 is with Amazon Brand Registry, you don't need a registered trademark to apply. Even with a pending trademark, you can already begin the Amazon Brand Registry application. After that, once you're done with the Amazon Brand Registry enrollment, you can go ahead with the product listing. So I think one question that a lot of sellers would ask is how to list a product. And to be honest, listing process look very differently for you, depending on whether you are a brand owner, whether you are a reseller, whether you are relisting a generic brand, etc., or whether you have a barcode or not. So we do have an extensive step-by-step listing guide that is also in the Perfect Launch and Jumpstart Playbook. So do take a look at it and understand how you can list your product. Next, after you have listed your product, usually the next question is, how should I fulfill my items to my end consumer in the US? So for Amazon US, there are 2 ways you can fulfill your products. Now, number 1 is fulfillment by merchant, which is where Amazon order your product, you will pick, pack, and ship to them directly. The other one is what I've mentioned just now, which is to leverage on fulfillment by Amazon to fulfill your product. So how much does fulfillment by Amazon cost? I think that's another question that sellers would ask. We have this tool called the FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon Revenue Calculator, where you can enter the size and dimension of your product, as well as a category, in order to get an estimation on how much this will cost for you. Again, the revenue calculator is also included in the guidebook, so do take a look at it. Once you are done with the cost estimation, you can go ahead to place your product order from your suppliers. And then let's assuming that you decided to to leverage on FBA to fulfill your orders. Now it's time for you to engage a logistic provider to ship your inventory to the US FBA fulfillment center, or engage your supplier to be able to do this process for you. So I think we have multiple service providers out there that provide services or shipment into the US. So feel free to speak to them after this to get more ideas and understanding of how shipment to the US is like. There's just 3 things that I want to highlight for FBA for this part. Number one is make sure that you understand what is the packaging and labeling requirements for your product. That's important. So for a product with glass, you need to wrap it with bubble wrap and to keep it from getting destroyed along the way into the US. So all these things you need to take note. How your label should be like on the product so that it's easy for the Amazon Fulfillment Center employees to scan. That's number one. Number two is to ensure that you have an importer of record in order to ensure that you meet all the legal requirements to ship your product into the US. Okay? And lastly, if you are shipping dangerous goods, just to make sure that you clarify with your logistic providers that they have the permits in order to in order to ship the product, your product into the US. Okay? And lastly, once you're done with this whole process, shipment created, your shipment will now be in progress into the US Fulfillment Center. At this point, while I'm waiting for the shipment to ship into the US Fulfillment Center, what can I do? The things that you can do is to optimize your listing and your storefront. So you can be experienced and you can be excellent at driving traffic into your listing. You can drive tons of traffic, but if it does not in turn or result in conversion, then that is just a wasted effort, right? So it's important that your listing and your storefront is good at establishing highlighting your product unique selling point, as well as some of the brand key features that you want to highlight for your brands. So some tools that you can use are things like A+ content. This is for Amazon brand registered sellers only. Product videos, async keyword search optimization tool, as well as the new AI-backed generate listing content tool. And then once your product has arrived at the Amazon Fulfillment Center, your store is officially launched. And the steps to take note, now I just want to highlight just a few steps that you need to take note after your product is officially listed. Number one is to make sure that you leverage on the brand building tools that is available on Amazon.com to get your product started. So what I mean by that is leverage on Amazon advertising so that you can either bid by keyword or product to allow your product to appear at the top of customer search page or in between their product details page in order to reach your prospect customer. And next, to manage your inventory as well as your account health. So to manage your inventory count closely to make sure that you don't go out of stock, I think that is, initially at the start, you should monitor a bit closely because you don't know how your sales volume is going to be like, you don't know how your sales velocity is going to be like, so it's good to monitor your inventory closely. And reason why I mentioned account health is because sometimes I get questions from sellers like, oh, what can I do to not get my account deactivated? To be honest, Amazon, I think maybe this question comes from some of the individual sellers' experience, from sellers who have had bad experience with it. But to be honest, Amazon doesn't deactivate your accounts immediately. So even if like real violations are made, right? Usually Amazon gives you time to appeal and make the amendments needed. So to check your account health closely to make sure that you are compliant. Yeah. And lastly, to dive into your Seller Central reports for analytics and sales performance. So now that you have handed over your operations side to FBA, so technically you don't have to take note of the delivery or the returns process. What you should spend your energy on is study your sales report, study your traffic, study your conversion to see how we can improve the performance on all this front. That is important, yeah. And then, enough from me, let's hear from some of the sellers themselves on why they want to sell on Amazon.com. So, isn't the US too crowded for new sellers? Isn't it too competitive? So, from our seller ambassador, Crystal, I think she was here for multiple panels yesterday. Over the past 4 years, she's not only started one, but 2 brands. So her first brand is called Abound Lifestyle, which is a home and living business that managed to hit 7-digit sales only in her first year. And then the other brand that she just started towards the end of last year is the LED mass skincare brand called Farah. And why did you choose US? I think that is another question that we had for the sellers ambassador. So our seller, Steven, who has a company, Baby K, the reason why is because of the dwindling baby population in Singapore. So in order to be able to grow his business and reach more customers, he has no choice but to go into a market with a bit more babies. That's why he decided to bring his business into the US. Yeah, and I think just to give you an idea of how big of a size or how big of a traffic we are looking at. So the unique mobile visitors on Amazon.com website on a monthly basis is 136 million. So let's say if you were to just get 1% of that 126 million, is 1 million views on your product every month. So that is the size that we are looking at. Again, why did you choose US? So our seller, Naoki Matcha, who is selling ceremonial grade matcha. So because their product is so niche, right, they need a bigger geographical size and population in order to work with. That's why they decided to enter the US marketplace. And also because they are familiar with, US also uses English and they are familiar with the culture, the American culture. That's why they decided to take a US first approach by starting in Amazon US first. And then for our seller, Nicola, reason why he chose Amazon US is really because of FBA. So FBA allows him to have the opportunity to be anywhere around the world and still being able to manage his business closely. Okay? And then another question that we asked the seller is Amazon.com only for the big brands? The answer is no. In fact, more than 60% of our sales are from small, medium businesses. And let's hear directly from our seller, from Lindsay from Handmade Hero. So she started her brand back in 2016, and she mentioned that Amazon.com allows her to level out the playing field between the big brands and smaller brands like herself. So barely a year after they enter the Amazon US marketplace, their signature, let me get this right, Cocolicious Luscious Lip Scrub actually became the top 10 lip scrub on Amazon US. And similar to Nicola, Lindsay enjoyed the benefits and the freedom that comes with handling her business over to operations side to FBA, such that she is able to spend more time with her loved ones. Now that I've covered, the 90 days, all the steps that you need to take note of, let me go into what are the practical steps that you can get started right now. So firstly, cost analysis. This is something that you can get started immediately. So like I mentioned at the start, there are 4 buckets of costs that we have with Amazon.com. Number 1 is a selling plan. So there are 2 types of selling plan. One is the individual plan, which is 99 cents per item sold. The other one is the professional plan, which is $39.99 per month with no additional, no matter how many units you sell. So for now, once again, I want to emphasize that the professional plan is going at $1 for 6 months for a limited period of time. And it will entitle you to all the tools that I mentioned just now, like advertising, brand building, product opportunity explorer, etc. And then next is on referral fees. So Amazon charges percentage of fees per item sold depending on which category you are selling into. So it's 8 to 17%. So for more information on how much each category costs, you can take a look at the link that is also attached in the guide. And then on fulfillment fees, so depending on whether you utilize FBA or not, you will be charged a fulfillment fees that you can use the FBA revenue calculator to estimate the cost. And lastly, all the other costs that I've mentioned just now, like advertising, merchandising, if you use coupons, all these falls under the other cost portion. So if you want to calculate your cost, you can scan the QR code and do the calculation. Next, one thing that we will encourage everyone to do is to get yourself registered today. So what are some of the things that you need to get registered? Firstly, a bank account, a chargeable credit card or debit card. So from this year onwards, it's another big project that our team has managed to find success in, which is allowing debit card to be accepted for Amazon Seller Central registration. Next, the government issued national ID, so for example, your passport or NRIC, a bank or credit card statement, text information as well as a phone number. So you can scan the QR code. This is also attached in the Perfect Jumpstart and Launch Playbook, but just in case you want the registration guide immediately, you can scan this QR code, or there is actually live support located at the side of the exhibition hall that is purely to help you to complete registration today. So if you need, do visit the booth and they will help you to register. And next, what can you sell on Amazon.com? So the categories that I've mentioned, these are some of the categories that you can potentially tap into to launch on Amazon.com. You know, some categories, of course, require some compliance. Some categories are, of course, you know, slightly more competitive than other. So how do you choose the right product based on data? Later on at 3:25 maybe, don't quote me on the timing, but we do have a session on product selection methodology that I will encourage everyone who is still in the product selection process to attend. And lastly, before I end the whole session, some tips that I would provide sellers, you know, if you want to launch fast are these three. Number one, to choose a category with no additional compliance. So, for example, if you want to sell food into the US, if you want to sell baby product in the US, all these comes at a cost. But, so if you want to launch fast, that may not be the category that you may want to enter. Next thing is choose a product that is suitable for FBA. I think this applies for all sellers, whether you want to launch fast or not. For categories that are not suitable for FBA are things like cold chain, or bulky items if your item is too big, or you know, if your item has an expiry date. So all these are products that may not be too suitable for FBA, which you may want to avoid. And lastly, to utilize the Product Opportunity Explorer to allow you to understand a bit better of which product selection you should select. And next, once again, we keep emphasizing on this, but this playbook really contains a lot of different information that I've just talked about that I think is important for new sellers. So do scan it and and let us know if you have any question. I think all of our team is stationed at the different parts of the hall today. So let us know if you have any question regarding this whole entire guide. And do follow us on all our social media channel in order to get the latest updates for Amazon Global Selling. And that is all from me today. Thank you, everybody.